Episode 9 of the Role Models podcast about to get underway. Hello, Jared Walsh, your host here. If it is the first time you've listened to it, well, I highly recommend you go back and listen to the other 8 episodes because it's been a journey. I initially started this podcast with the intention of chatting to people that you're probably familiar with their work and what they do in the spotlight. But, of course, I wanted to bring to your attention what they are doing in their personal lives away from the spotlight. Just like episode 8, I had a chat to former AFL player Brock McLean, who he had a pretty controversial career. He played for both Melbourne and Carlton, and when he was at Carlton, he copped a fair bit of criticism on social media.
I certainly felt that, the expectation was warranted, and I didn't live up to that, albeit my body didn't allow me early on. But, I think 2012 was a real turning point.
What you may not know about Brock McLean, though, and this is what I love about him, he is an ambassador for a program called Athlete Ally, which focuses on bringing people's attention in regards to equality, so things like gay marriage and, of course, educating children.
Teaching kids about little things that they might be doing in their everyday life that they don't know that they're doing or they're unaware of, that can make a huge difference to how gay people are perceived or how they're treated.
So what you can do is go back and have a listen to the other podcasts I've done, just like Brock McLean. I would love for you to give this podcast a rating on iTunes, Stitcher and Audio Boom as well, and share it across all of your social platforms so we can continue spreading this positive message. So while you're thinking about doing that, let's get into episode 9 of Role Models. I know the great thing about podcasting is the fact that you can listen anytime, anywhere, but I need to be date specific at the time of recording just to show how lovely my special guest is for giving their time. So we are approaching the first weekend of the 2016-17 Hyundai A-League Finals, which is football in Australia, the world game. Sydney FC finished on top of the ladder. They are the premiers and they got the most points scored in the A-League's history. So congratulations to them. Their goalkeeper, his name is Danny VUKOVIC, and he's had a fantastic career at a couple of A-League clubs. He's played overseas as well, and I reckon he's in career best form. In 2017, he's also been part of the Socceroos squad in their World Cup qualifiers, and he's given me the time of day to have a chat. So what we will do is talk about this historic season at Sydney FC. I want to talk about Danny and where he's at in his career because, as I said, I reckon he's in career best form. Fun fact as well, he actually scored a goal when he was playing for the Wellington Phoenix. I need to know how that feels because the goalkeeper scoring a goal doesn't happen too often. And we'll talk about overseas football as well. The other reason I've got Danny VUKOVIC on is, as you know, this podcast is separated into 2 parts. Part 1 focuses on what you may know about these people and their lives in the spotlight. Part 2 is a little bit more serious, and we talk about the things you may not know. And Danny and his wife Christy have had a really serious fight on their hands for the past 12 months with their young son Harley, who was born with a liver condition. He required a liver transplant, and just think about it, a young kid, a young innocent child requiring a liver transplant. This happens to so many kids around the world. So Danny and I will talk about how he and Christy coped, how it affected his football, and how Harley went through the whole process. We need to talk more about organ donation and how we get involved and find out about how we can educate ourselves and each other. So I really hope you enjoy listening to this and you walk away from listening to the podcast thinking, this is how I can play my role. So let's get into it. Role Models, episode 9. My guest, Danny VUKOVIC. Danny VUKOVIC. So here we go. Sydney FC preparing for the A-League Finals series. You get a week off. How are you feeling at the moment, Vuk? We'll go through your career really soon, but I bet it's a little bit surreal and you're probably pinching yourself thinking that you may not have been in this position again, but here you are.
Yeah, it's been an amazing season. I don't think anyone at our club envisaged such a successful year so far. As footballers, you set out to win every game, but realistically, over the course of the season, that's really hard to do. And obviously, we've gone close to doing that. We've lost one, but I think the real pleasing aspect is we've been very consistent and very dominant. So 2 games to go in our eyes, and we really need to finish it off now.
You have had an amazing season, and what I love learning the most and doing this podcast has given me the opportunity to do so is embracing people that we see in the spotlight that may be a little bit misunderstood, or a perception that people in the media or social media may have of them. And Graham Arnold, your coach, is probably a prime example of that. I'm lucky enough to know a couple of the players at Sydney FC, and talking to them about Graham Arnold, if you have a look at him on television, or if you're standing in the players' race like I do at Adelaide United games and you see his behaviour on the pitch side, you'd think, wow, he seems like an angry man. But some of these players have indicated to me how good not only your group is at Sydney FC, but also how good Graham Arnold is as not just a coach, but a mentor and a leader.
Yeah, I've said it before, and I really believe he's got the total package as a coach. I think it's important to be very good tactically, but I think the other side, and a very important side to coaching, is that man management side, and he's wonderful at that. He really cares about his players. I saw an interview he did yesterday on the back page, and he said they're like his kids, and they really are. That's how he treats us. He really cares about us and wants the best for us. And I think that shows with how we play our football and how we go out there to win games for him. It's he's been brilliant this season, and a huge reason for why we've been so successful.
Michael Zullo would come across like one of his kids because of his height challenging moments as well, because he's so small, but that's okay. That's another conversation in itself. I wanted to ask you about the A-League and Australian football, because I am a lover of all sports, but I find it really strange that when we celebrate in Australian sports, I'm talking about the AFL, the NRL, the NBL, it's the grand final, which is the pinnacle of celebration. But in world football, we celebrate finishing top. So as we saw over the weekend, Sydney FC holding up the Premier's plate. But ultimately, that's it. You guys don't receive medals. You don't get any recognition apart from that. And, touch wood, you guys go through and make and win the grand final. But if this doesn't happen, your season probably won't be talked about much anymore, because it's the grand final which Australian sports celebrates. Do you find that a little bit strange? Because I know you've had experiences overseas, but we are a grand final dominated country.
We are, and it is a shame, but I think I've gotten used to it after playing 12 years in the A-League. But I can tell you, I think it's harder to finish first past the post after 27 rounds than to win a grand final. Literally, teams need to win 3 games and they've won a grand final. Whereas to win the minor premiership, you have to be first after 27 games. So I think they both have a place in our sport, and they both should be celebrated. We got that opportunity last week, but the big one is the grand final, and that's the one that has eluded me my whole career. I've lost 3 grand finals, and I'm very desperate to hold that trophy up at the end of this season.
I did mention at the start of the podcast that I believe that you are the premier goalkeeper in the country, which is a credit to you. I mean, getting Socceroos selection earlier in the year in those qualifiers, and I'm sure you'll be selected again for the match against Saudi Arabia at the Adelaide Oval. And Sydney FC is your 4th A-League club, but you seem to be in career best form. Do you attribute that to anything in particular?
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors to me getting back to the form I knew I could get to. And I think first and foremost was getting back home, surrounding myself with loved ones, friends, family. I feel real settled off the pitch and real comfortable. And I think that certainly helped. Linking back up with Graham Arnold has been a huge one as well. He's been someone I've worked with in the past and always worked well with, and he really instills confidence in me and belief in me, and that has helped with my confidence going forward. And another big one is my goalkeeper coach, John Crawley, who I think is the best goalkeeper coach in Australia, and that's with no disrespect to any goalkeeper coaches I've ever worked with, but this guy has developed not only myself but Matty Ryan, Adam Federici, Andrew Redmayne, and not just coach these guys, he's developed them from little kids. So I think getting back with all those people has helped me get back to my best.
Vuko, I wanted to ask you about overseas experiences because I don't think we understand a lot of it as Australian football followers. We see players getting the opportunity to go overseas and we think, great, in a few weeks' time we'll see them on Instagram driving around in their $1 million cars and buying about 14 or 15 houses. Now, you've been signed to a Turkish side and also a Japanese side. Players going overseas happens always, but sometimes no one gets time on the pitch, or they get struck by injury, or they fall into situations like you did where your club had too many foreign players. Do you find those experiences, as much as they are difficult at the time, do you find them a bit growing for you to help you grow as a footballer and also know that you are on a roller coaster journey in your football career?
Yeah, I think so. I think they do galvanise you a lot, and the two instances I went overseas really didn't work out for me. But that's always the goal, I think, for young footballers here in Australia, is to go overseas, go to competitions that are considered a little bit better than what we've got here, and try to make it. I went to Turkey a couple of years ago when I was in my early 20s, at a time when I was in and around the Socceroos, and the coach at the time was only really using players that were playing overseas. And my decision was based a lot around Socceroos and trying to break into that side. And I went to Turkey at the time when Harry Kewell and Lucas Neal were playing there, and it just didn't work out, but it sort of set my career back a little bit. I then had to come back and play at Wellington Phoenix and was in and out of the squad there, and really sort of stalled my career a little bit. But it's the dream of a young footballer, and at the time you have to make decisions that are best, or the best thing you can do at the time, and that's all you can do, and you hope that they work out, and unfortunately sometimes they don't.
Do you find, just finally, the last football question I wanted to ask, actually the second last one, these young players here in the A-League who are getting the opportunity, there is a big risk where they see the chance to go and play overseas. It may not be the best opportunity for their career, but the fact it's overseas in a league bigger than the one that we offer here in Australia, they are risking a fair bit, and as you said, that you experienced all their careers.
It is a big risk. It is, especially if a young player is here in Australia getting good amounts of game time, and there have been players that have gotten good game time here, and then eventually gone over a few years later and done well. But it's that risk that players are willing to take, I guess, and it's hard for them to knock back when a big club comes calling and they show a lot of interest in you. It's I've been there, and it's very difficult, and you really need people around you to give you good advice, people that you trust, and as I said, all you can do is try to make the best decision at the time, and obviously hope that things turn out the way that you want.
When you finish your career, are you going to reflect and go, it's really amazing to say that you are a goalkeeper who's also scored a goal?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite moments in my career was scoring that goal. People that know me and former teammates and teammates of me now know I love putting the ball in the back of the net. I'm a goalkeeper, but I feel like I could have been a striker. I really do, and any chance I get to put the ball in the back of the net, I'll swing a ball out wide and get boys to cross it in, and I'll try to bicycle it in or something. But so I'm really proud of that fact that I'm still the only goalkeeper to score, and I still reckon I can get maybe one more before my career's over.
Oh, I just imagine how good would it be, Sydney FC in the A-League Grand Final, and it goes to penalties, and you are called up to take the winning penalty. I would pay to see that, and I would pay double to see your celebration if that happens. So let's hope it doesn't get to that and you win easily, but we will see. Now, Danny, I always use the second half of the podcast to talk to people who are in the spotlight, who probably experience life a little bit differently, and people, our listeners, get to know you on a different level and find out things they may not know. Now, you moved back to Sydney FC in a pretty highly publicised move, which no one really was expecting outside of your inner circle, but your reasons, of course, were valid, and anybody else would have done the exact same thing. For the people who don't know, can you talk about what happened with the move and also it being related to Harley, your son?
Yeah, it was came after a difficult season at Melbourne Victory and a difficult year off the pitch. with our son, who was born with a liver condition called biliary atresia. And long story short, this condition meant that Harley would need a liver transplant, and meant we were constantly in the hospital. Every week we were in hospital, having checkups, blood tests, and other tests, to make sure he was still doing okay. So he went on the transplant list there in Melbourne, and at the same time I was still playing football. I was going away every second week, playing interstate in the A-League, and we were also playing in the Asian Champions League at that time with Melbourne. So going overseas, and we've got no family whatsoever in Melbourne. And for me, it was very difficult to have to leave my wife and my sick child behind. And that probably showed out on the pitch as well, with my performances and certain things that I was doing, mistakes I was making. And, at the time I didn't think it had that much of an effect on me, but obviously looking back on it now, it probably did. And we made a decision to come back to Sydney for my family's sake. And I can honestly say it was the best decision that we've made. My wife is comfortable here. We live next door to my in-laws, so whenever we need anyone around, they can be over in literally a minute, and they can be here. And my parents live 10 minutes away from us. So, we came back for that reason, and that reason alone. And, there has been some talk, it wasn't the right reasons or whatever, but, I'll never make an apology for making this decision for my family.
Do things like that annoy you, though? Because people who probably are uneducated and, as I said, aren't in your inner circle and don't have the right to know what's going on in your personal life, they probably would have doubted your form and thought, who is this bloke? I mean, Melbourne Victory had a young keeper to go up as their first choice as well, but nobody knew what was going on behind the scenes. And as I said, that's nobody's right to understand that unless you wanted to tell your story. You are quite an easygoing guy, but you're also a really proud professional. So if your form is challenged or doubted and you want to go, here's the reasons, did that kind of conflict you a little bit and frustrate you?
Yeah, it does a little bit, but as professional sports people, you sort of have to have thick skin, and I choose to be on social media, and you have to take the good with the bad and be able to sort of look past those negative things that come your way. And I think anyone that was in my situation that made the decision that I made, I don't think you can begrudge them for that. But some people did, and some people still do, and it is what it is. I don't lose any sleep over it, and I know I made the decision and the right one.
Having a daughter myself, you even get scared at the thought of them falling over and grazing their knee. I mean, last night, my daughter's just started to almost crawl, and something fell from the fridge and almost hit her last night, and I almost started crying. You get so protective. But for you as a new parent to know your son needed a transplant so young, were there just stages of you going, well, why me? Why us? What did we do to actually deserve this with an innocent young child to go through such trauma at a young age?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of parents have sick children, and we've met a lot of families that have been sick, and I'm sure it's a typical feeling to have. Why me? And you certainly go through stages almost of grief. You don't believe it, and then you ask, why us, and that sort of thing. And we certainly had that, and we certainly had periods where it was very difficult. And the good thing was, though, through everything, and Harley being very, very sick, he's always been a happy kid, and that's certainly made the journey easier for us, seeing that he has been happy. If he was always upset, always in pain, and the rest of it, I think it would have been a lot more difficult. But, I've had times where I've gotten really down about it, but I've had my wife, Christy, there to pick me up, and vice versa. When she's been down, I've been there to pick her up. So we've gone through this journey together, and I think we've come out a lot stronger as a family.
I want to ask you about your wife, Christy, in a second, and how strong she seems. Is it like the movies, Danny, that you sit there waiting for a phone call saying, we have the organ, it's time?
It is exactly like that, to be honest.
Really?
That's one of the tough things about being on the transplant list. The kids get categorised in terms of which child needs the liver or any organ, or whichever transplant list they're on, who needs it the most. So when Harley went on the transplant list, he was still doing pretty well, and we basically had to watch him go downhill until he could move further up that list, and we were more of a chance of getting that phone call. But that phone call finally came, and it changed our lives forever.
Do you have the opportunity to say yes or no to meeting the family of the donated, the organ donor?
I don't think so. I think they're very touchy about privacy issues around it, and I think it's to protect both sides. It's a tough thing. Someone passed away for our son to get a second chance at life, and it's the ultimate gift that we've been given as a family. But we definitely had times in those few weeks afterwards where we thought, someone passed away for Harley to still be here. So organ donation is something very special, and it's the ultimate gift that someone gave us for our child to have a second chance and a chance at a normal life.
I want to get to organ donation in a couple of minutes, and you talk so passionately about it, and I think it's really important, someone who's experienced it with Harley, you do talk about it. I just wanted to quickly reflect on your wife, Christy, though. As a new mum, she would have taken this experience, I reckon, a lot more brutally than us guys do. I mean, we can only do so much as parents, and that's not taking away your impact and your feelings, but you would have seen that when Harley was born, the connection a mother has with their child is just, you can't take that away and you can't replicate it. So did you learn how strong women are and how strong your wife is, even if you thought beforehand they just take it up another level, don't they, when they're really faced with adversity?
Yeah, 100%. Christy, I knew already she was a very strong girl, but I've seen a whole different level of strength from her through all this. And as I said, when we were in Melbourne, a lot of the things she had to go through were by herself. But no matter what was put in front of her, she just got on with the job. Whatever needed to be done, she did. And as I said, she certainly had times where it got the better of her, but only very briefly, literally, 5 minutes, a little bit of a cry, and back to it. And, she's been truly amazing through this, and not only for Harley, for me as well. Dealing with everything last season as well. My football looked, dead and buried, and she was there to pick me up as well and get me through it. So, she's truly been amazing through all this.
I wanted you to have this opportunity, Danny, to talk about organ donations and your experiences in the kids' hospitals, because a lot of us probably just see it as a label on our driver's licenses when we go to renew our driver's license. Do you want to be an organ donor or not? But we know how important something like this is because it ultimately saved Harley's life. So this is your opportunity, and it's the reason I wanted to chat to you on the podcast, so you could have this opportunity to talk about the great work that these hospitals do. And, people are basically donating their lives to save the life of another person.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's one thing you said with the license, ticking yes to being an organ donor. That used to be the way that it was done, but that's actually changed, or has done in many states. You actually have to go online and sign a register first and foremost. So that's at donatelife.gov.au. But the thing that people don't realise is that at the same time, you really need to let your family know your wishes. Even if you are registered, your family can still stand in the way of your organs being donated. So it's important that you have that discussion with your family, and that's one thing I'd love to get out. I'm not here to convince people to become organ donors, but if I can inform them on what needs to be done, and that's probably the most important one, is to have that discussion. It's not an easy discussion to have, but if you feel strongly about it, it's good to let your family know, and also to see how your family feels about it personally as well. It's a very personal decision that everyone should make.
Just finally, I wanted to ask in regards to your perspective on life and really how irrelevant a lot of the stuff that goes on every day is compared to what you've been through. And as I said, it seems like you're happy in your life outside of football now, and you seem to be safe, and that 90 minutes that you need to focus as hard as you can on, knowing that after that 90 minutes you can go home, live next door to the in-laws and go home to your family in Sydney. It must be really satisfying to have that perspective.
Definitely. I think it's helped me in many ways as well in my football. I used to be one who would have a bad training session and the rest of the day be really upset about that and affect the rest of my day, and have a bad game on the weekend, and for the rest of the week I'd be upset until the next game came along. And then going through what we've gone through, seeing what my son has gone through, it's really opened my eyes, put things into perspective, and really when I think about it, it makes me feel stupid that I get so upset over a football match. But I just consider ourselves very, very lucky to have been given that gift that we were given by someone. We don't know who, but we have now a beautiful little boy who's healthy and has every chance at life that the next young person has. So it has been difficult, but we've chosen to stay positive through it all, and we consider ourselves very lucky.
Well, I really hope that in a few weeks' time you get presented with that A-League Championship medal. You can put it round Harley's neck and also have Christy on the field with you as well. Danny, I'm really glad you came on the podcast because you've always been really kind to me, even though I get people to boo you at Adelaide United games. But, of course, people probably don't really understand your story or know it, so you've got the opportunity to tell it, and you're a really good man. So I wish you guys all the best, and thank you very much for sharing your story, mate. And of course, I'll put all the details for how people can get more education and have that conversation with their family about organ donation on the details of this podcast. Good luck for the finals, and good luck with the family, mate. Thanks for your time.
No worries, and really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
He's about to play in one of the biggest games of his career, and as you heard in the podcast, he's so open, honest, and reflective as well. I can't thank Danny VUKOVIC enough for his time. If you want to get in touch with him and send him your thoughts about the podcast or just say g'day, he's on Twitter at VUKA20. I'll also put his Instagram link and also the information, most importantly, about organ donation in the description of this podcast. If you enjoyed listening to it, make sure you get in touch with me on social media at Jared Walsh on Twitter. My other details are on the description as well. And give it a rating. iTunes, Stitcher, Audio Boom. Say you like the podcast. If you want to recommend someone for me to have a chat to, I would love that. That's 9 episodes done of Role Models. Episode 10. We'll catch you next week.